Hey there, guys. Dr. O. As you can see, my voice is still working its way back, and it's really hard to talk. Basically, in order for me to do well and get over this, I have to shut up, and it's kind of hard for me to do. And so, anyway, I've been itching to kind of get this done because I was going to get all this done before this hit me. So, but anyway, I wanted to get this out there to you, which is talking about last three chapters, or at least two chapters. This one is on abnormal psychology, or at least the beginning of that. Maladaptive behavior. What exactly is maladaptive behavior? Because usually when people get into psychology, they want to find out, why are people crazy? Why are they acting that way? And I'm going to have a couple of examples I'm going to show you too as we go through this. But first, in order for us to really see what exactly is abnormal, we have to get an idea of what normal is. Okay, so you ask the question, what is normal? Is there really a normal? And I'm going to give you a couple examples that are going to show you how to compare that normal or abnormal part of human behavior. Okay. So I used to think that I saw this shirt one time that said "normal people scare me," and that was one of the things that that's kind of true because I don't see myself as normal. I don't go along with a lot of the things that people go along with. There are a lot of followers and stuff like that, and just will go and do things because everybody else is doing things. But I see myself as different, and I've always have seen myself as different, and I think we all have that uniqueness as a part of who we are. But really take a look at what is normal. One way of taking a look at what is normal is subjective discomfort. Does somebody or something make you uncomfortable subjectively? So you have subjective, which is my own personal opinion, and then you have objective, which is your non-judgmental type of view. So subjective discomfort, I usually do this in a class. I go up to, and if I do this number, I'm kind of getting real close. And if you ever had somebody do something like that, it's really strange. It'll make you uncomfortable, right? So that would be in your head, you're thinking, oh, this guy's not normal. Something's wrong with him, something strange. So that's one way of looking at what is normal because you need to know what, in order to find out what something is abnormal, you'll have to take a look at what is normal, or at least some of the definitions of defining what normal is. So when you're looking at abnormal, another definition is, you got the subjective discomfort, but then you also have statistical abnormality, something that statistically, like the bell curve, as you can see here, shows whether or not something is normal or abnormal. So, for example, Einstein, would he be considered normal or abnormal? I would say he's considered abnormal in terms of intelligence because he has such a high IQ. So he's not in the bell curve area. So he would be out in the outskirts over here or on this side. Well, let's say this is intelligence and comes all the way across. And then on average, most of us fit right in the middle in between. And average of IQ is about 100, 110. Einstein, I'm not exactly sure how much his was, 260, even higher. So high intelligence for him. So he would be considered statistically abnormal. Okay, someone who has like Forrest Gump, he'd be more on the lower end of the intelligence from there. So again, most of us fit in the middle there. We're an average intelligence. We'll score on the IQ about like I said, 100 to 110, and that'll be statistically abnormal. Another way of looking at abnormal too, and I use this example in when I'm face to face, is if you think about homosexuality, is being gay normal or abnormal? Okay, most of my students in the class would say, well, it's abnormal. Well, now we're seeing more of it, so does that mean that it's becoming more normal, or is it still abnormal? So, but if you take a look at the people or gay marriage in a sense, now it's a little bit more normalized, which means that it's out there more. Before, when we take a look at the DSM, which is a diagnostic manual that I was trained under in my master's program, that was the DSM-3, now it's the DSM-5 TR, I believe. And the way that it started in the 70s was psychologists and psychiatrists had to figure out a way. How do we decide whether something is normal or abnormal? We want to be different than the MD doctors, medical doctors, and clergy, okay? Because we want to help people. But they couldn't figure out how we're going to separate from them. So a lot of them came up with the DSM. So in the 70s, the definition for being homosexual was considered a mental illness. Okay, it was in the DSM when it first started. That changed over time, and I'll ask you the reason why you think it did. Normally, people say, "Oh, I'm not really sure." What happened? It was political. A lot of it was political, where a lot of the movements, and then you see this now too, a lot more movements have been pushing for it to be recognized and normalized, and therefore not being a mental illness. Okay, so it's these type of things that have politics that tie into it too. So, but the whole idea of the DSM is to be able to have a communication. So if I am talking about schizophrenic, and I'm talking to you about schizophrenic, and you're a therapist as well, we want to be able to know what we're talking about, the same thing. Now, understand that the definitions change. Schizophrenia back in the 70s, early 80s was considered two personalities. Okay. And so, oh, you're kind of schizophrenic, kind of two personalities, but it's not that. It's a break from reality, and we'll go through that with the major mental illnesses in a few in the next video. But for now, I just wanted to bring up that again. You can be normal, subjectively uncomfortable with something or someone, and that in itself you consider abnormal. Or you could be statistically abnormal, meaning that you are not in the norm, the bell curve of what is average. Okay, so there's a lot of hot topics going on right now. Like I said, trans males, trans females. Are they male? Are they not? Is it genetics? Is it not genetics? And that whole argument. I mean, is gender considered to be male, female, or is this something socially constructed? And that's the thing that we have to take a look at too when we're looking at whether something is normal or abnormal. Is it a matter of social nonconformity? Okay, is it something that doesn't go against the cultural norms? And so the cultural norms have changed. I was doing my dissertation on child abuse, and part of my research took a look at in the early 1900s. Doctors would recommend chastity belts, actual chastity belts for little boys and little girls, which basically covered up their genitalia, because the doctors believed at that time that masturbation was considered self-abuse. So in order to keep them from masturbating, they would have to wear these. I mean, a lot of them were metal and stuff like that, and they couldn't, do anything with their genitalia. So back then, that was accepted. If you were to do that now, that'd be child abuse, right? So the cultures change. Another way of looking at it too is social nonconformity. Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Jeffrey Dahmer. Years ago, he was arrested and eventually killed in prison. But he would bring gay men home and basically kill them and then eat their bodies. And he was a cannibal. Okay, so abnormal, right? I mean, that's kind of there. You can kind of say, yeah, that's kind of normal. That's not a good thing to do. Okay, so that's not normal in our society. But if he was living in a society or a culture of cannibals, a tribe, that would be normal. Okay, so you really have to take a look at what is the cultural background or cultural area that you're looking at right now and to consider something normal or abnormal. Okay, so that's one way of taking a look at normal or abnormal. I'm going to take a drink here real quick. So another thing you have to take a look at when you're looking at what is normal, abnormal, and then social nonconformity, and this is another way of looking at it too. Social nonconformity, I just remembered when the Soviet Union, which is the USSR, back in the 80s. This is before it became Russia, broke up and became Russia. The USSR was communist, and they would put people in prison who went against the government, and if they started talking against government, they would consider them mentally ill and then put them um, into prison. That's the way that they would control them. Also, there's something called in the came up in the 1800s when the slaves were trying to be free. They came up with tryponomania, which basically means, they had a mental illness of wanting to be free. Go figure. Okay, because it was going against the cultural norm at that time, or at least in the South, or that's mainly where it happened. So social nonconformity has to do with also context. Context is very important too. I remember when, hold on, I got a cough. I remember when my grandmother passed away years ago, and they asked me to do the eulogy, or at least do something. And so I did a PowerPoint presentation at the time, and it was really interesting because, like I said, I'm an observer and I like to watch people. And it was at the Catholic Church there in Cascran, and it was really interesting because I had, just a story about her life and stuff like this, and just kind of a tribute to her. But I had some cousins and my sister and some people give their stories about them, and there was one that my cousin had talked about where they took my grandmother to Disneyland. And if any of you have ever been to Disneyland, there's a train that goes around to all of the different parts of the park. And my grandmother loved that. And she was tiny. I mean, I thought it was going to be that small, but she was really tiny. She was under 5 foot, you know, white hair and everything. And so they got on the train, and my cousin was describing this. And she started describing it she goes, yeah, we got in the train, and then, she got into the front car, and then she was behind her, but they end up getting on the runaway roller coaster train. And she goes, yeah, you see this little white hair going like this, and then like this, and like this, and going down. And I watched everybody in church, and some of them started, because it was funny. It was funny, but the context was the church, and it's kind of like you're supposed to be, somber at least. And then as soon as one person laughed, they all started kind of laughing. And that, again, the power of the context has a lot to do whether something is considered to be social nonconformity or not. Let me toss this out to you. What do you think about this? I've always wanted to be able to, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this, how my wife is going to, allow me to, but put in there, when you go to a funerals are usually, I don't really like funerals, but I mean, they're for the living. The person is gone, their spirit is gone. That's the way I look at it. It's for the body. It's for the people around who are left. That's what it's for. But I would love to be able, and you tell me if this is abnormal or normal, okay? You know how you go up and you see the casket and you say you give your last respects? I would love to be able to have my voice recorded, and as soon as, and then, have a little sensor, and as somebody comes by, my voice comes out, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Is it cold in here, or is it me? Things like that, because that's just my style. That's who I am. It really kind of freak people out is if I had like a hinge, and then my hand will go up every time they come by as a sensor. I don't know. Call me nuts. Okay, so yeah, would that be normal? Would be the abnormal. Another way of looking at it too is context. How many of you have ever gone to a football game or a sporting event and actually did the wave, right? Okay, you do the wave, no problem. But what if you're at a funeral and you tried to start a wave? What do you think would happen? Well, people look at you, oh, this person's strange. They're abnormal here. Something's going on with them. Okay, but what if it was a person who invented the wave or loved the wave? Again, context has a lot to do with, whether something's considered normal or abnormal. Another way of looking at normal and abnormal has to do with the cultural relativity, the concept referring to the fact that a variety of perceptions and judgments are made relative to one's values in the culture. And I'm going to show you a couple of videos here, and what they are They are. We've been following the People's Convoy for the last month or so. They started in California and they drove all the way to Washington. They were around Washington, eventually were able to go into downtown Washington. And there's live feeds, and this one's WYSIWYG TV, and I highly recommend you check out. I'm gonna put a link there for you to take a look at. WYSIWYG TV He does a great job, and he's at the right spots a lot of times too, covering this live. You're not going to see this in regular mainstream media because they don't want to cover any of this. But this is we love the live streamers. The number of live streamers that we follow. One first responders is one of them, and then there's Oreo Express, and then Sasanac is one of the truckers who basically you get to see what's going on at that time. It's not edited, it's there. So let me show you, and I wanted to show you this, these two people who WYSIWYG was confronting, and that were stopping the trucks for just normally driving through DC. And you tell me if this is normal or abnormal. Is it a matter of context? Is it a matter of cultural relativity? Again, you let me know. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'll add this in. And then I'll work, my voice is starting to go. But we'll work on some more of abnormal or normal, or at least going into the major mental illnesses. Okay? So take a watch, and then, make a comment. Do it as a discussion and see what you guys think. All right? Talk to you later. Thanks. I've been following the People's Convoy, and this is a number of trucks that have gone in, and this is 31822, and something has stopped them. So WYSIWYG is running out there, and WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get TV. Excellent. I highly recommend him. So just listen and tell me what you think, if this is normal or abnormal. And also the people around them too. Again, become the observer.
Can you explain to me why? Fuck off! Fuck off! Fucking losers! Is that how you love people? You just
Fuck off, losers! Get the fuck out of the car!
you had a conversation.
Now, I'm gonna need you to move, okay?
The driver left the car.
They're gonna get back in their car.
Are they? I'll go right there to the sidewalk.
Listen to me, 'cause
No,
you're
they
gonna get out of the
parked
street.
the driver. I'm
Okay,
gonna
so-
stand right here.
Now you wanna run?
Fuck off, losers! Fuck off, losers! Keep moving, losers! Keep moving, losers! Keep moving, losers! That's what I thought, losers!
So,
That's what, losers!
again, you take a look at what is going on with this girl. She has a lot to say, but only has few words in order to say it. She doesn't want to listen. Okay, is that part of the culture now? Is that the way that things are? So, to me, this is abnormal. This is not my way of dealing with things, but apparently this is what she goes with. But also watch the people around them as they talk. And then you can see the truckers just want to talk. Hey, why don't you talk to me? But they don't want to. And so just watch and we'll continue on.
That's what I thought, losers!
Just so you know,
That's what I
somebody
thought,
loves
loser!
you. You know that, right?
That's what I thought, loser!
You know somebody loves you, right?
That's what I fucking thought!
People that don't want to even have a conversation, like why?
That's what I fucking thought!
Okay, watch this lady with the dog. And see, she thanks her for what she's doing, but tells you what she's believes.
Fuck off, losers!
You sound like you're full of hate. Would you like to?
Fuck off, loser! Fuck off, loser!
What exactly do you
Fuck
like
off,
it for?
loser! Fuck off, loser!
Would you care to say anything besides?
No, the drivers in this vehicle are all...
See, and that's WYSIWYG trying to ask her some questions, trying to say, tell me what it is that you are angry about. Have we become a society of being angry? Has that become the norm? Is that now normal? To me, that's abnormal. That's something that we haven't experienced until now. It's very interesting.
Step out, please. I need you to get back in your vehicle. You gotta move on.
Fuck off, losers! Fuck off, losers! Okay,
You have a lot of hate compared to what your sign says. Do you care to talk about that?
Fuck off, loser.
On the sidewalk, out of the roadway this time. Everybody
Can you say anything besides
Fuck
that?
off. Fuck off.
What does your sign say?
Fuck off. Fuck off.
Food trucks plan, get a clue. We hate.
Okay, now that's interesting. Did you notice that she actually moved it so he could read it? And then check out her shirt. It's the first time that I've seen it. It's a keep it real. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm having an interesting time with this.
Fuck off.
I thought you were inclusive and friendly people. Why do you hate people so much?
Fuck off. Not you. Fuck them.
Why do you hate people
Fuck
so
off.
much?
Fuck off.
I thought you were about spreading love and inclusiveness.
Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off.
No, it's not.
To that guy, she goes, "Fuck off." Okay, she basically he said something to her that she don't like. So basically, have we come to the point? If you don't like something that somebody says, you tell them to fuck off. Pardon my French, but that's what she's doing. That's all the vocabulary she knows. She doesn't want to hear it or talk about it. So again, is this the new normal? Gotta hope not.
Yesterday. I would assume that if it's the same person from yesterday, we would have heard the same F off. There's children around and families. Do you feel like that's the appropriate use of language? Is it busy right now or quiet?
This is the busiest.
This is busy. It's been in a while.
We were here about maybe like 6 months, about 4 months ago. They
Yeah.
were here,
Have you ever seen a woman like that with the language she's using towards people?
I've never seen
Is that a new one? At least new today, huh?
it. Too many people today.
Yeah.
Okay, now check these guys out.
Come to the black neighborhood.
Where?
Come to our neighborhood.
What's that?
Come up to U Street, you racist bastard. You want to lead us? Fuck y'all,
Why do you say that?
Fuck y'all, fuck. Fuck y'all.
Just a new generation. Good Lord, I hope not.
Can you tell us what's racist about trucks?
Fuck y'all. Get the fuck out of our city.
Why don't you talk to me and tell me what's going on besides just yelling things?
Is this the majority? Is this statistically the majority now, or is it just a loud minority that's, pissed at everything? I mean, psychologically, I could say that. Well, man, they probably didn't have a really good childhood growing up, and this is one way they're getting back in society. I mean, that's one way of possibly looking at it. But I mean, it's just the visceral anger that's there towards people who are just people, right? This is the thing that fascinates me. And she continues on. Another guy that's going to come up too, which is going to be an older gentleman. So maybe it's not just the generation, but there's an older gentleman too. Those are cool trucks, you got to admit that. Pretty awesome.
Love is far nicer than hate. You should try spreading love rather than hate. I don't know.
His shirt says "Creep It
You're
Real."
over here yelling
Okay,
at people
explains a
who
little bit
you
more.
don't even know, being vile, and then you wonder why I want to come over and show what you're saying. Why don't you tell me what
Look at the guy behind her.
instead of just standing and yelling hate? You are nothing but hate in a tiny package, and it's unbelievable. And you've got your bodyguard here, but you don't need a bodyguard. Oh, comrade, isn't that a communist lingo? Your comrade? Do you believe in communism? No, I'm anti-fascist. I do not believe in fascism. Well, if you're talking about kids in Black Bloc, no, I am not in Black Bloc.
Get a fucking vaccine.
Get a Really? Okay. How do you know I'm not vaccinated? Do I
Okay, I stopped at the wrong spot here. Okay. Okay. So
look unvaccinated?
listen to this guy.
But they're not anti-vax. No, they're not. They're actually not anti-vax. They're about freedom of choice. There's people who are vaccinated. You don't talk to them and ask them. There's people who are vaccinated.
I'm sorry.
Why do you believe what this?
Is that crazy? Is that normal? Is that abnormal? I don't know.
Talk to them. They're vaccinated. They are vaccinated. It's not about that. You're in an imbecile because you believe what the mainstream media tells you. These people are vaccinated.
Can you explain anything to these people, or do they just? I don't know. Like I said, the people are fascinating. You know, psychology is fascinating. Do they have a mental illness underlying? Who knows? It's not diagnosed. A lot of people go around.
It's not.
Okay, he's getting more pissed.
You're convoluting ideas. It doesn't hold up. You know what? You are free to drive drunk, but you pay the consequences.
Is it fear? Is it all fear? Is that the thing that they've been putting into us? Is fear, fear, fear? So you get angry.
But you're just angry. You're both very angry, and it's unfortunate. Spread love. Be loving.
You're hitting a baby, you fucking loser. Fucking loser. Get the fuck out of here, loser.
Hi. But I'm not Newsmax, but they may pick it up after this. Your anger over something
You
you're
go,
not aware of,
WYSIWYG.
and you don't know what it is. You don't know why you're mad. You're just mad because
That-
you're
he's right.
supposed to be mad.
Sometimes they don't know why they're angry.
Whatever, and you're free to do that. That's what freedom's all about. So it's clear you can't have a rational conversation. You're so upset.
And it's interesting, like I said, you know, you're so upset. And this is the thing that I always talk about when you're talking about emotions. When I talk about my my TEDx talk, if somebody knows what your fear is, I say, if I know what your fear is, you're mine. I can control you. If I know how to get you emotional, I can control you. And really think about how these last couple of years have been, where fear has been, the unknown has been so strong, you know, and it's gotten people to a point where they're like this. They're angry at everything because they're fearful of everything. They don't want to listen to anything. So if you think about it, when somebody's yelling, their ears shut down because they're so busy trying to make their point. And fear is one of those things, and I always say fear is false evidence appearing real. So what ends up happening with a lot of people like this is that they end up being sucked into the fear of it, and it's that fear that drives them, and it becomes visceral, and it becomes visceral meaning that it's emotional. It's you know, deep fear, because the fear will connect to other fear that they've had for other areas too. And if you think about people who have been locked in for the lockdowns, there was a lot more mental illnesses that popped out because of that. You know, the fear of some people who were, you maybe know some people like this, who were actually, you know, germophobic, became even more so. You know, the fear will build that, and that's why I don't. You know, it's like me. I'm not going to fear anything. Why? You know, because I know that they're trying to control with fear, and these people they don't want to listen. So let's continue on.
Yeah, but it's still freedom. And when you lose that freedom, it's all gone after that. So obviously you're anti-American and you don't believe in freedom. Wow,
She can lose her voice.
Angrier and angrier, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm not yelling profanities at you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. See, there's some good people there.
I don't disrespect you. I don't know why you're disrespecting people you don't know anything about. All right. This isn't your city. This is America's city. This is our federal government. People have a right to be here.
I live here.
It doesn't matter. Just because you live here doesn't make you yours.
I'm sorry. That's funny. The first time I saw it, I was like, "Holy cow, this is amazing." Look at all the people now. Check this out. Check out what he says.
All the haters. All these people hate America, apparently.
There's the lady with the dog.
Why do you hate America so much? What is it about America that you hate, that you're giving the finger to America's truck drivers? How do you get the food that you were delivered today? It came on a truck. If you didn't have America's truck drivers, you would be planting and growing your own food, and I don't know that some of you could do that. Could you grow your own food? Could you make your own iPhones? How would the stuff get to you? You guys, if
Got
you
a good
don't
point.
support the truck drivers, you have a problem. Do you not understand that that's how the things get here? Why? Why? Do I not?
There she is again. Do they want attention? Is part of this, you think, that they just want attention, that they're living a life, or are they that? Because if you are against something, well, don't you think that you'd be more likely to listen and work things out? Or again, has this been now a culture of anger and divisivity, divisive, different? It just, us versus them kind of thing. And I think it has been, sadly enough.
I have a right to be here, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. This is my home. It's called America.
You go, WYSIWYG.
I'm sorry you're so triggered and angry. And it's going to be difficult for you to find your way in life if people on the street anger you so much. It's live on YouTube. There's millions of people watching right now, listening to you and your foul mouth and your incredible ideas of what people are about. You're the inclusive, morally superior people, but yet you're standing here yelling at people you don't know anything about, the nastiest things possible. If you don't mind. Yes. My friend, can I get a selfie with you?
I like these guys.
Yeah. This is my channel. Thank you so much. We're doing a selfie, a triple selfie, so you can watch the
There's
live
WYSIWYG.
stream and get
He's
the
awesome.
selfie in.
Highly recommend. Follow him. Find out more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Send that to me. Thank you. What's that? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bless you. Hopefully people understand. I'm a journalist, but to be attacked as a journalist is not a free America. How do you know? You don't even know who I am.
Yes, I do,
Here.
you idiot.
Here's my card.
There was something that somebody had said before that I heard, is that it's a lot of the people who are like this, who are yelling at other people that they're racist or that they're idiots or stuff like she's doing. That's confession by projection. Freud talked about projection, like that's one of the defenses that we, the ego protects the superego when the id, because right now she's nothing but id. She's that child. She's just like getting out there, and probably doesn't have a lot of superego, which is more the parent. But the ego kind of balances the two, and they use the defenses in order to do that. And one of them is projection, like a projector onto something, like a light goes onto something and it shines whatever it's in the projector or the TV. So she's projecting onto somebody else, you're a loser, what she's really feeling. I mean, that's the concept there. So if you really listen to a lot of people who are visceral like this and angry and just understand that they may be projecting. What was it again? It was confession. They're confessing the way they are based on their projection of onto somebody else. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully it does.
All right. You can't argue with people who hate so much.
Yes,
And hate
True.
is for rookies. Hate is not acceptable in this country. Any of you come out and see or watch my channel and see what the truckers are all
Watch
about.
this channel.
It's not what these people are yelling about.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. But mainstream media, DC media, doesn't want to show you that.
Yeah.
So gang, tell me what you think about this video. Again, WYSIWYG TV. Please go check it out. Live streamer, follow them. They're headed to California right now because there's a lot of bills in California. That one of them it's just incredible. And again, they're not anti-vax; they are just freedom of choice, and it's you'll learn more about this and be aware of it. So take a look, see, and tell me what you think, whether normal or abnormal. We're going to continue on with more of this in the next video as soon as my voice gets better. Okay, thanks. Talk.